The following podcast has been rated PGN. Parental guidance is neglected.
Boy, it's been a long time since we've had a little father-son chat.
I am your father.
Father, if you can hear me, I failed.
Don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I'm here with my dad.
I know what you're gonna say, son. And you're right. You're right.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
I've abandoned my boy!
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the PGN podcast. And if you're listening to this at night, I'm going to ask you to stop listening right now and come back tomorrow morning. Because it's got a morning vibe today.
You think so?
I don't know.
Listen on your drive to work to kind of feel.
Yeah, this is a on your way to work to kind of start your week. In fact, I only want you listening to this on a Monday or Tuesday morning between the hours of 7:30 and 9. Otherwise, Good call limiting our viewers. That's really So
that'll do it.
For all 6 of you, I hope you're not listening to this at 10 o'clock at night. If you're listening to this at 10 o'clock at night, you need to get out a little bit more. Oh,
Go to bed.
I've still got things on our screen I didn't get rid of. I'll get rid of that so that everything looks better. So also, if you're watching, you're going to see my cursor moving around. Taking us to a nice
more editing work for me to do later.
Yeah, nice little blank screen for Jackson to get around. Hey, everybody, welcome to Parental Guidance is Neglected. I'm Regan Burns, and this is my son.
I'm Jackson Burns.
Jackson Burns. 2 generations of family talking about all things movies. One is a film student that is coming to you're not at the end, but you're on the downhill. You're on the down.
We're getting there.
You're on the downhill of your film education, and then me, a man who has done countless movies as an actor.
IMDb credit.
I mean, IMDb me, and you're gonna have to scroll a long way down through a lot of TV to get to
a lot of work with Marty, Steven.
Man, I don't know. My clock's running, man. I don't know how much more time I have to get working with these guys.
They're
not returning my calls. Right now, top of my list is Michael Bay. And I'm in no slam against Mr. Bay.
Nothing wrong with him.
Nothing wrong with him at all. But then when you've done a movie and you got cut from it,
only so much you can.
Yeah.
You can say, yeah.
I don't know. There'll be maybe the Killers of the Flower Moon sequel next year. They're working on a sequel to that, aren't they?
Revival of the Flower Moon.
Revival.
That's what they're calling it. Yeah.
Revenge of the
the
Osage people. They're gonna do like he's gonna do like a Tarantino reimagining where everyone gets their comeuppance. I posted something this week, Jackson, just because I was thinking about the movie and I just felt like it. Cause sometimes I do that. Just once again, not to get completely off topic. We have a lot to cover today. Oh, by the way, episode 53, and yes, it is going to be the reveal of our top 10 best and top 10 not best films of 2023.
We don't use the W word here.
We try not to. It sneaks in every once in a while.
Sometimes we slip, and that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. The point is that we're putting effort in.
Yes, I have done a lot of bad television before. I've done a lot of so commercials. Art is subjective.
I've only shot beautiful, insightful films.
So far, everything he shot has won an award. I don't know why. I just felt the need to put it out there. I said, again, I still stand by this. Maybe I saw an ad for one of his films. I still say, speaking of Quentin Tarantino, since I said he's going to redo Killers of the Flower Moon, I still say Jackie Brown is his best film. I still do. And
here's what I'll say about that. Yeah. It has been so long since I've seen a lot of his movies where I have a ranking, but it's outdated. I haven't like in my college years revisited any of his movies besides like getting a scene or two from Django or Inglourious Bastards here and there. But I remember enjoying Jackie Brown. I don't remember.
You didn't love it, but I just think it's consummate storytelling. I got a lot of some people agreed, and some people a lot did not. And a lot of people really go to Inglourious Bastards. And I think
it's phenomenal.
I think Inglourious Bastards has the first 2/3 of that movie are fantastic. The whole Hitler in the movie theater thing,
it's kind of awesome.
It loses me.
Awesome.
It loses me. This whole reawakening of, I don't know. The opening scene is probably one of the best opening scenes in movie history. Christoph Waltz.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, but
great.
It's like he peaks early. It's like that's the apex of the film, and then everything else I feel like kind of fails in comparison.
I will say too, I think the older that I get, the more I feel like I've kind of grown out of his movies a little bit, which is stupid for me to say. Like, I still think fantastic filmmaker, got some great movies, but I don't know if I've ever like left a Quentin Tarantino movie being like, like that was like truly spoke to me and like my tastes.
Yeah.
What was I'll go to see any movie he does, and I guess the Movie Critic is coming out soon. So
what was the Western one he did? Why am I blanking? The Hateful Eight. The Hateful Eight. Yeah, another one that's kind of, I feel like I need to revisit it.
Ooh. I like that one a lot. I think that's Mom's favorite, actually. I think that she enjoys that one quite a bit.
That might be. Anyways. Hey, welcome to Parental Guidance Neglected. See how it works, ladies and gentlemen? We throw out a topic. Doesn't have to be about movies. Usually is, but...
We'll just talk.
Yeah. Jackson just got from the gym, had a little leg day. I went for a bike ride today, so my gams are pretty fired up as well. We're sitting and we're talking movies. Again, coming up just a little bit later, our top 10 best and not best films of 2023. I think I'm going to ruffle some feathers, and I think Jackson might too.
I think I might too.
I just got that feeling. Feathers may or may not be ruffled. Before they do, I got out to the theaters to see a couple of movies, new openings. I'm trying to make a pledge this year, if I have the time, to see every new theatrical release. Now, as far as streaming movies go, I'm going to do the best I can. First off, I don't own 500 different channels. I got the Amazon, I got the Netflix and Peacock, but I'm not going to go crazy just because there's an Apple Plus movie that everyone's talking about. Because normally, Jackson, with the streaming movies, if they're that good, they're going to get some kind of theatrical release with it. Like Maestro is a Netflix movie, but they put it in theaters for a few weeks before it went to Netflix. Speaking of Maestro, it will not be on my top 10 list of the year, but not because it's not deserving of it, but because I just did not get to see it. I wanted to. I just ran out of time.
Oh, interesting. I did see Maestro this week.
We'll talk about that later.
Later.
That's why I bring it up, because I thought I'd start that out. Jackson saw Maestro, finally catching up. Jackson, talk to us and give us some hints whether or not we may be talking about it later in the top 10 best. What did you think of Bradley Cooper's second directorial film, Maestro?
Not great.
Yeah. Oh wow. Not great.
Not great. Yeah. I'm good. Here's the thing with Maestro.
Mm-hmm.
It is, if you go in expecting to hear the story of Leonard Bernstein and his wife, then you will be happy. If you go in expecting there to be some kind of greater theme, putting the movie together and, making a story, I would say that you're probably going to be disappointed. Maestro, to me, I think, is a very good...
is it a performance movie?
Imitation.
Oh, imitation.
He does a very good imitation of Leonard Bernstein, and he does become Leonard Bernstein. Like I buy it, not knowing much about Leonard Bernstein. I buy it very well. I mean, they had that whole thing about like, I spent 6 years going to, conducting school to conduct as Leonard Bernstein. Good for you, man. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I really thought that this movie did not grab me at all. Wow. I'm going to be honest.
You're not alone. Again, you're not alone at all. I'm
not a Leonard Bernstein fan in general, but there's plenty of one of my favorite biopictures of all time, Mishima, by Paul Schrader movie. I didn't know anything about that guy going into that movie, and it's one of my favorite movies ever.
Right.
I think this movie had a lot of potential to do something with a really interesting story, and I think that it just didn't hit any other mark besides just, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Yeah, not great.
What did you think of? And we're going to talk a little bit about the Oscar nominations a little bit later. It's kind of been talked to death, but we'll have a little bit of our reactionary stuff. After watching it, do you have a problem with either Carey Mulligan or Bradley Cooper being nominated for acting and actress? Or are you like, no, I agree, that's probably the top 5 of the year? Or are you like, I don't know.
I think that if I were to nominate a performance from this movie, it would be Carey Mulligan.
Okay.
She's phenomenal in this. I don't know if I'd say top 5. I think if there was a top 10, if there was like 10 slots for best actress, absolutely in the conversation. Top 5, we'll get into it later, but I think that me and you both know there's someone that we would have liked to see.
Yeah.
In there
instead.
In the nominations.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let me ask you a little bit about, I know a lot of people, some have seen Maestro, some might be on the fence of whether or not they finally want to sit down and see it. Thanks for the thumbs up there, Jackson, on Maestro.
Jesus, god damn it.
On his screen.
It's so annoying.
He's got that thing on the computer where it's a little thumbs up emoji every time. There is a lot of talk about cinematography. I'd have to look back at the nominations. I want to say Maestro is nominated for cinematography. If not, I know there's been a lot of talk about the look of the film, how it kind of starts in black and white and becomes muted and gets into color in the later ages. Did you think it was shot well? I mean, directed well? Do you think Bradley Cooper knows his way around a camera? Are you like, are you not getting it?
And again, I was not a big fan of this movie.
Right.
One of the best shot movies of the year.
Oh,
it's pretty awesome.
It looks awesome.
Yeah. I think I want to say Prieto shot this. Unbelievable cinematography in this. Shot on 35mm film. You got to let me nerd out for a little bit, which is awesome.
Yeah.
There's some really gorgeous shots in this. Some really great camera movement. Again, I'm wary of giving Cooper too much credit for that. I think I'm more willing to give the DP credit for that, only because I know that he was carrying so many hats as far as like conducting school and performing in the movie and trying to direct the actors and all that. But some really great shots in here for sure.
Okay.
Whether that brings the movie up score-wise, I don't know if it was enough to save it. Because sometimes there was some shots that were implying some things that didn't really back up what I was seeing on the screen. So
okay. Well, let me ask you one more question before I get your score of it. There's a lot of talk of one scene in the movie, I guess a big orchestration scene where it's an entire segment of a symphony that shows him conducting it. And apparently that is phenomenal and the music is amazing and he's got the conduction motions down. Was that as powerful a scene as people are pointing out, or is it like,
in a vacuum, it's a really great scene. It's shot really well. Again, I think it's the one moment where I was really able to like feel like what Bradley Cooper was feeling in the movie as far as like the character goes.
Right.
Because he's conducting and it makes sense in the story, but I feel like in the context of the movie, it didn't feel like it was earned. It didn't feel earned.
I got you. It's to me, I'm saying, let's see. It sounds like you thought it looked beautiful, shot beautiful. Seems like it was some pretty strong performances, if not the best performances of the year. But the subject matter, the script, the story was really, really lacking. I'm going to say, in your scale, because you're the numbers man, I'm the letter guy, I'm going to say you gave it a 4.
You got it on the nose.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Do I know my son? No, that was
son? Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to guess, unless it was a really bad year for movies, that is not on your top 10 list to be revealed later.
I think you should keep in mind that I did not see nearly as many theatrical releases as you did this year.
Yes, no, I get that. Everyone, our regular listeners know that Jackson is a full-time film student. He's got a budding romance with a young filly. He's got friends that need him to go out and do stupid college shit. So
I'm going to try to see way more this year though, because I didn't have A-list for a lot of the last year, so it was like, do I want to shell out $11 to go see? I don't know.
Miller's Girl.
Give me Miller's Girl,
which is coming up shortly.
Which I guess is a good segue, unless you want to save that. But
no, I was just gonna say, you when you can see 3 movies a week, you almost feel like you have to. You're like, they're paid for.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jackson was not a huge fan of Maestro, but Miller's Girl was was the only movie big new film that opened this weekend, except for the expansion of Origin and the Zone of Interest, which we've already talked about. Miller's Girl is from director-writer Jade Haley Bartlett. This is her debut feature film. For those who may not have heard about it, they're not really publicizing it very much, even though it's getting a very probably short release in theaters. It stars Jenna Ortega. We all know her as Wednesday and from the Scream movies. And then Martin Freeman from the Hobbit films and also Black Panther. This is a pretty silly film that wants, I think, wants you to take it seriously. I've read a lot of reviews about it. People are like, is it trying to be campy and over the top? Because man, I don't know if this young woman, Jade Haley Bartlett, was a big fan of Streetcar Named Desire, but this is a lot of southern, over-the-top, hot
like
Tennessee nights
accent.
there's the wife. Martin Freeman plays Mr. Miller. He's an English teacher in a high school in the hot, swampy land of Tennessee. And Jenna Ortega is, of course, a young ingenue who's been left alone because her parents are always abroad. She's got visions of Yale. He wants her to go to Vanderbilt, and they meet for their love of literature, which soon turns into a budding flirtation. There's a lot of sexual innuendo here. There's a lot of creepiness. They point out very early that she's 18, but going on 37 with her. And Jackson's already making the stink face. This might be the worst character name in the history of film. Her name is, ready?
Yep.
Cairo Sweet.
Cairo Sweet?
Cairo Sweet. That's Jenna Ortega. Yeah.
Sounds like Kaiser Sose's like long lost cousin.
Yeah. Needless to say, Mr. Miller and her get a little too close. I won't spoil whether or not they actually go too far. I think that's part of the film, is what is too close and what isn't, and what is over the line. It's a brief hour and a half. It is way, way over the top acting-wise. The script is all over the place. I don't think you're going to be hearing about this much after next week. There's probably a reason Jenna Ortega and Martin Freeman are not out publicizing this movie right now. Miller's Girl gets a D+ from me.
Ooh.
Yeah, D+.
Wow. All right.
Go ahead.
Real quick, just because you mentioned it, I did for a third time.
Oh no.
See Zone of Interest yesterday with all my friends.
You did.
No errors this time. No problems with the screening.
Subtitles weren't in the first row of seats.
But it was pretty great. I got to take all my friends. A big group of us went. It was good, and a lot of good conversation came from it.
Okay.
I think so.
What overall was your friend's reaction to Zone of Interest, a film I'm sure we'll be talking about later in this episode?
Two of my friends liked it as much as I did. Mm-hmm. Most people liked it a lot, but had a few small I wish it was a little shorter. Or I wish this and this. Mm-hmm. Only one person that I went with was on the fence of liking it or not. I don't know what I felt about it.
It is a polarizing movie. It is a it is a film that when we're going to talk about our Oscar nominee reactions in a little bit, but it is a movie. It did garner several nominations that I have seen people say if I would take something off the list and put something that was more beloved to me, Zone of Interest is the film that people are kind of I don't know. But I've also found that I think a lot of people who do that didn't see the film. They're just I heard what it was about and I'm not into it, or it just didn't resonate with them. But interesting. Let's see if Zone of Interest makes an appearance later. Also, I get out to the theaters to finally see Mean Girls. That is the film that it is based on, the musical, which is based on Tina Fey's original movie Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan. This is co-directed by Samantha Jane and Arturo Perez Jr. It stars I hope I say it right, Angourie Rice, Australian actress who's known for Mayor of Easttown and the Spider-Man movies. I don't even remember her from the Spider-Man movie. She plays Betty. Okay. I don't remember that either. And singer-songwriter Renee Rapp is in this as well, with cameos, of course, from the original cast members Tina Fey, Tim Meadows, and spoiler alert, Lindsay Lohan does make an appearance. It's passable, Jackson. It's not an inspiring film.
Interesting.
You would hate it. It's a musical, and we know you're not a huge fan of that. I'm not going to force you to watch it like I did with Once.
Wasn't even a huge fan of the original Mean Girls anyways. So
there you have it. The biggest faults, I think, with Mean Girls, and I'd be very curious to know what kind of run it had on Broadway, is I don't think the songs are very memorable, and I certainly don't think they're very good. And when you're doing a musical, that's kind of the main point.
Kind of important. Yeah,
I know. I think Renee Rapp, who plays Regina, is a fantastic singer. And then Angourie Rice, who plays the Lindsay Lohan role, not so much a great singer. So when you have your lead who's not really holding their own with the other one, I think that hurts a little bit. There's some cute moments. There's a few numbers that are whimsical enough. The big closing number is about as forgettable as you can imagine. And when your closing number is the most forgettable song of the movie, that's a bad sign. It's an A for effort. I'm not going to say it's horrific. I'm going to give Mean Girls right down the middle, just an average C. Jackson, do you think you'll be using? Right. Do you think you'll be using your A list to go out and see Mean Girls?
I can't say so.
No.
My girlfriend is a pretty big fan of the original Mean Girls. Went to see it and actually hated it. So I feel like if she wasn't a big fan, then this maybe not be the movie for me.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say, speaking into movies, though, I didn't get to go out to the theaters this week, but I did want to catch up on some newer releases before we get to our list.
Yeah.
So, again, I did end up watching Maestro, but I also took the time to watch a movie that has been on my radar for a little bit now because of its cast mostly, and that's Blackberry, the true story about the making of the cell phone.
I'm going to do my apologies list later before our top 10 of films I did not get to see, and that's at the top of the list because I've heard nothing but good. I'm very curious to hear what you thought of this.
Yeah, definitely an overall positive. I had a great time watching this movie. I think that the main highlight of it is the performances. Specifically, Glenn Howerton is so good in this.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Hilarious and so, I don't know. There's just something about his character that just draws you in. I also do want to give big props. I think that Jay Baruchel, I think a lot of people might think that he is not as big of a player in this as far as acting goes, but I think that he is the perfect straight man for this movie. Plays it great. And also, the director is also in this. Matt Johnson plays one of the best friends and key leaders in the Blackberry story, and I thought he was also hilarious. I think that the one thing is that this movie is constantly trying to play catch up with how much of the tech do we tell the audience.
Right.
And I don't know if it found a creative way to come over that problem. Because there was a lot that was happening where it was like, I think that I'm following, but I don't understand, but I can't tell if it's okay that I don't understand, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot to do with taxes and, like, obstruction of, like, where tax forms are going and stuff, and they're trying to follow the tech of the phones and how the technology actually works. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And then overall, I don't know if I was totally enthralled with the story of BlackBerry. I think there were some interesting moments, but, shocker, Apple comes and kind of blows them away.
Yeah. We know the ending.
Yeah. So, TLDR, I think that this is a very promising release for director and I guess actor Matt Johnson. I'd be very curious to see what he does in the future. I'm gonna go with a decent 6 on this. It was good, but I don't know if it's anything to write home about. But if I would at a minimum see it for Glenn Howerton.
People really love this movie. There's been a lot of people rallying around it. I've seen it sneak onto a couple top 10 lists of the year. The only really criticism I hear of the movie is a lot of people say it's kind of like the Social Network light, like it's trying to be that. What do you think about that comparison?
I don't know if I agree with that because I think that this has a lot more playfulness to it. I think Social Network is a very serious. I mean, it's Aaron Sorkin, so it's very talky, very serious. A lot of like really dramatic moments, and this didn't really have a lot of that. I mean, I understand the comparison because it's very much has that dynamic of like the founder and the best friend. And they butt heads a little bit, but I wouldn't say that it's trying to do anything. I wouldn't say that it's biting off too much from Social Network.
Okay, a 6 though. That's all right. It sounded like it was gonna be a little better at first, but I heard Glenn Howerton, who I have worked with on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is fantastic in this. So All right, I'll check that out. What's that streaming? I feel like that's streaming. I think that's like an Apple
that
movie.
You can rent it on Vudu or YouTube. I rented it on YouTube, but it's not streaming anywhere.
Okay. Yeah,
currently.
I know it was in theaters for a while, but then I thought it was also done with either Netflix or one of those guys as well. Speaking of streaming, though, another movie that Jackson reviewed last week, so I'm not going to go heavy into it. I caught up with and saw Leave the World Behind. That's from director-writer Sam Esmail of Mr. Robot. Julia Roberts, Ethan Hawke, and Mahershala Ali play a family that's brought together with another family in a house during the apocalyptic end of the world. Jackson was not a huge fan of this, and I agree with everything that he said. Number one problem, I hate it. I hate to say it. I've been a fan of hers in the past, but I think Julia Roberts is just not right for this. I'm having a really hard time with Julia Roberts playing anything besides Julia Roberts. I don't know why. Maybe she's just too big of a movie star.
I feel like a lot of it was just the writing of her character too. Like I think they wrote her so annoying and a little bit racist, and I was just kind of like, "Am I supposed to, is this the protagonist? Am I supposed to be rooting for you?"
Yeah, that's
because I had a very easy time rooting for Mahershala Ali and his family, but when it came to her and her kids, I was just like, God, you people suck. You people suck.
I think that's another one of the big problems with the movie. Speaking of racism, is that it's trying to say an awful lot, and it just, we got racism, we got technology gone wrong, media poisoning, nature versus man, deep state government, and I mean, that's just the first 5 minutes of the film. It's like, it's trying to make all these points about things that are going wrong in our world, and I get it, but it just felt kind of scatterbrained all over the place. I thought Kevin Bacon was wasted in his cameo as a survivalist. Ethan Hawke is... I
did like him, actually. I thought he played that character very well.
Yeah.
I think underutilized, absolutely, but I liked him for that role. I don't
know, just get off my porch kind of guy with a gun. I don't know. I did like Mahershala Ali in this. I actually like the girl. I'm sorry, I don't know the actress's name, but I like the girl who played his daughter, but... I felt like it bit off way too much to chew. I gave the Leave the World Behind a C-, and I know that's been another movie on Netflix that people have been kind of all over the place. And then last on things that I saw on streaming, this is one I actually saw a few weeks ago, and I keep forgetting to bring it up, and I don't know why, because I really, really enjoyed it. I laughed quite a bit at the Please Don't Destroy movie on Peacock called The Treasure of Foggy Mountain.
Did we both not talk about this?
I don't think we did. Did you see it as well?
Yeah, we saw it together. I was in the room with you when we saw it.
I don't think we ever
saw it as a family.
I don't think we ever talked about that.
Oh, you're totally right. That's
we
so fun.
completely skipped over that.
Before recording this, saw some sketch they did with Dakota Johnson that made me laugh my ass off.
Oh my God! I just saw it. I literally just saw it before we started recording. Yeah, the roast where they just come in and go off each other. We didn't talk about it, and I think we just pushed it out of our minds. And I feel bad that I did that because I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, by all means, not a stellar comedy. When you take a sketch group like them that are used to doing 4-minute bits and you stretch it into an hour 25 minutes, they're going to throw everything at the wall, and you're lucky if 80% of it sticks. And I feel like a good 75-80% of it did stick to the wall. I thought they were smart, and they put a good supporting cast around them with Conan O'Brien and the girls who play the park rangers.
They were really funny. Yeah.
The cult was hilarious. But again, is it completely sophomoric? It is, but it's not that. There was a movie out this year called Dix the Musical. Do you remember seeing trailers for that?
Yeah, I never saw it, but I
never saw it as well either. But when I looked at it, I went, this just looks stupid. The Please Don't Destroy movie, I think, is clever stupid, if that's such a thing.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And the three of those guys together, what makes them work is they have incredible wordplay and timing. That's not that what they're saying
and
is
chemistry as a group too.
Yeah, the three of them are really well. Yeah, I wish we had talked about that. It's Martin Herlihy and John Higgins and Ben Marshall. If you have Peacock or you want to pay whatever on Vudu to get it, I think it's worth it. I gave it a solid B, Jackson. I thought it was a really fun film.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think it stuck with me as much as it did with you.
It obviously didn't stick with us that much because we both forgot about it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that you said 75 to 80% of it hit, and I think I'm more around like the 65% of it hit. Okay. When this is funny, it's hilarious. I was laughing. I think the eagle bit was so unbelievably funny. I was just laughing so hard at that. I really do think. Again, I think one of the funniest people in this movie is Megan Stalter as the love interest.
Yes. Hilarious.
Just some of the funniest line reads I've heard all year. Yeah. But again, I do agree with you. I think this suffers pretty heavily from some serious like first attempt from a sketch comedy to do a feature where it's not. It gets a little bit too convoluted, and you're trying to follow it at the same time, but trying to be funny with it. Yeah. I hope they do more though. I'm going to give this a 6. A 6. But like a hopeful 6 that they will continue to do great things as a comedy trio.
Funny cameo from one of the kids from Stranger Things towards the end too.
Yes, also that was really great.
Yeah, it's the PGN podcast. Parental guidance is neglected. We are working our way towards our top 10 best and not best films of the years. Before we get into our thoughts on the Oscar nominations, Jackson, do you see anything else this week? Any pretentious art house we need to cover?
I did. We saw one together, but we'll touch on that later. Yes. I'll go through. It's been a pretty interesting week, I'll say, for Jackson's Art House Corner. I'll just go through really quickly. There was actually one that I missed last week. Me and my girlfriend are going to try our best this year to get through all of the Studio Ghibli movies. We've made it a goal of ours just to kind of go through and see what's going on over there.
Okay.
So I've got two
for those who don't know, that's the big animation studio from overseas that have brought us, of course, The Boy and the Heron this year.
Yeah. The first one that I have actually doesn't come from Studio Ghibli. We made a mistake because it is from the director Hayao Miyazaki, who's done all the big Studio Ghibli ones like Spirited Away and Totoro, and most recently Boy and the Heron. But this is from before Ghibli was even founded, from a different production company. Okay. It's called Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and I quite enjoyed it. A really interesting story that was very different and a bit more violent than I was actually expecting from a Miyazaki movie, which I guess isn't as shocking for those who've seen some of his older stuff. But really interesting. I thought some really great commentary on humanity versus Earth, which is a very common theme with their movies. But I won't dwell on it too much. I gave Nausicaa a 7 out of 10. Wow. That was the first one, and then a bit of a bigger hit from them, I also sat down to watch Castle in the Sky.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah. Castle in the Sky, this is one of their bigger ones. Again, also directed by Hayao Miyazaki. I didn't like it as much. I still did enjoy this. I thought the animation style, of course, was beautiful. Some really great stuff once they get to the castle in the sky, but I'll say I wasn't so interested in the journey of getting there. Yeah. But still some beautiful animation. Let me ask
you this, Jackson. The school you're attending, they have a pretty good animation department, don't they? Aren't there some?
Yeah, we have an animation school as well. Yeah, it's part of the film school.
You seem to have really taken a liking to anime, and at least the hierarchy of the top echelon of anime. But you never really seemed all that much into taking the classes or studying it, or you were like, I don't really want to do that. It's
over my head.
It's just over.
It's just not. Maybe if I had a bigger interest in actually utilizing it in projects, that I would be more motivated to get through some of the stuff. But it's complicated, man. I had to take an animation class, VFX and animation class last semester, and Jesus. Much respect to those who are in that field, because my God, is it just impossible to figure out some of this stuff. God, I mean, if you saw some of the projects that I did, you would beg me to drop out of film school probably. But
okay, well, I didn't realize cartoons were that hard. Okay.
Wow. No way. No way. All right, whatever. I'm going to just pretend you didn't say that.
All right, what else?
Castle in the Sky for me gets a 6. That's it for animation. There's two more that I really want to talk about that I've seen. One with you and one without. I'll start with the one without. Last week, me and one of my good friends went to go to the Egyptian Theater, to the American Cinematheque, to see a movie called A Brighter Summer Day. This comes in from director Edward Yang, who's very highly regarded filmmaker from Taiwan.
Now, A Brighter Summer Day. Before you get into this film, I want you to tell everybody, what is the running time of the movie?
It is 4 hours long. A Brighter Summer Day is 4 hours long.
Okay, so let's just go in knowing, before you run to your TVs to look this up, It's a 4-hour investment. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Continue.
It is.
Continue. Please.
I was a bit wary going into this because I've seen his more popular film that I talked about in the podcast earlier last year called Yee Yee, and it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. And so I was a little bit wary coming into A Brighter Summer Day, knowing it was 4 hours. But I knew nothing about this movie going into it. Maybe one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's so good. That is so good. It's so. I have not every day I wake up and I think about this movie, and I could have spent 4 more. I could have spent 4 more in the world. It flew by.
Jackson, my ass will not take a theater seat for.
It was so beautiful and so devastating, and this movie takes a twist in the last 15 minutes that completely recontextualizes the rest of the movie.
What is the pitch? What is the main story about without getting too deep into the weeds?
The log line is a boy experiences first love, friendships, and injustices growing up in 1960s Taiwan. I'm wary to say what this movie is about because I'm afraid that it gives it away too much. All I will say is that I did not realize it was based on a true story until the last 15 minutes.
Oh.
And so this movie takes a bit of a turn where you realize that, oh my God, everything that I've been watching so far has been real.
Wow.
Just unbelievable cinematography. Thank God this movie, actually I was reading into it, was lost for many years and had a very small cult following, because only a few VHS presses of it existed. But somehow they're able to find the masters and completely remaster the whole thing. It looks gorgeous in 4K. And now it's a huge hit. It's one of the most critically acclaimed movies of all time. And absolutely deserving of it. A Brighter Summer Day. I will say if you get a chance to see it, just for the viewers, because I know my dad will never see this movie.
No.
If you get a chance, see it in theaters. It's the way that it's meant to be experienced.
Okay, is there an intermission at least?
No.
You had to sit there for 4 hours.
Yeah, and I did. No bathroom breaks.
You didn't take a bathroom break.
I couldn't get out of my seat. I was so glued to the screen. It was so good. A Brighter Summer Day, 10 out of 10. Phenomenal filmmaking.
Bright
so
summer
impressive.
Day, 10 after 10.
A Brighter Summer Day.
See, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we call a true Jackson Burns pretentious art house film review right there. Okay. Is this movie even available for people to watch, or is
it's on Criterion?
Criterion. So if you subscribe to Criterion, you could sit down for 4 hours.
You can also rent it on YouTube or Vudu as well. But
gotcha. Wow.
Criterion's gonna be the best.
All right, and finally, anything else with Jackson's? We have one more,
Me and
right?
you.
Yes.
Yeah, just was it 2 nights ago? Yeah,
2 nights. My son invited me to meet him in Santa Monica at an art house theater and go to an art house movie, and we went to probably one of the most arty art house movies you can go to. When people talk about art films, they usually bring
this
up
is in the conversation.
They bring up Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire. Jackson, tell the people a little bit about the movie and what you thought about it, and I'll let you know what I thought.
Yeah, this was my first Wim Wenders movie, so I was very excited. I was a bit disappointed to find out during the opening, because at the American Cinematheque they have a guy come out and talk about it. I was a bit upset to find out this movie is not standalone. It's got a sequel, and it makes it pretty apparent when the movie ends that there's more to come.
Yeah.
That I was not expecting. But yeah, it tells the story of I mean, it's complicated, but it's a group of angels who have spent an eternity observing and taking note of humanity and just watching and note taking and documenting. And one day, one of them falls in love and realizes that maybe he wants more out of life, to maybe join the people down below and give up immortality for a chance to be human. Beautiful in concept. Whether or not it was executed well, up for debate. Most people seem to think this is the greatest movie ever made. I don't know if I'd agree with that, but this was your second time seeing this movie, and so I'm more curious to hear about what you thought on a rewatch.
I saw this in college. I worked in several video stores back in college, and I remember at a movie screening night that this was showing. A bunch of theater students were watching it like in their living room, and I kind of came in a few minutes late, and I saw the majority of it, and I kind of was in and out. It was one of those things where everyone was talking about it and this, and a lot of people there wanted to be film people too as well. So I hadn't really sat down and kind of focused hard on it, but I knew the gist of the story. I remember that Peter Falk was in it. I remember about the angel and him wanting to come back to Earth and give up his angelhood, so to speak. This film is loved by film aficionados. Many people consider this one of the best films of all time. I hated it. I did not care for Wings of Desire at all, and I really tried very, very hard. I found it almost monotonous after a while. There is one scene where the angel wanders into the circus and the woman that he falls in love with, the trapeze artist, is swinging back and forth on a swing. And we must have had, and I'm not kidding you, 15 to 20 shots of her swinging back and forth, and then the same shot where they would cut down from her POV to watch him staring up at her, walking left and right by the circus manager, and every once in a while he would kind of lean in and just touch the guy's shoulder, and it just went on and on, and I'm like, what is so amazing about this? How many more times are you going to show him longingly look left, and he would just he would walk to this side of the guy, and he would walk over to this side of the guy, and I was like, I don't get what's going on here. Now, does the black and white look beautiful? Yes. Every once in a while, the film will switch to color and then switches to color for a good bit of the last portion. The parts where it did switch to color, I didn't get why. I didn't get the through line of it. Like suddenly Peter Falk would be in color for a couple minutes, and I was like, okay, there is a twist with Peter Falk that I had forgotten about, but it didn't save the movie for me. I just found it really tedious. And then the woman at the end has an incredibly long monologue that made no sense to me about destiny, or she was waiting for him, or it just meandered. I'm not a big Nick Cave fan, and his music and him are in this movie a lot, and it's just not my vibe. We were in a packed theater. I know this film is loved, but I'll tell you what, in an art house, when a film ends like that, I would expect, if it was for something that classic, I would expect to feel that in the theater, like everyone has just been through something. And I know a lot of people in our theater, because they asked, were seeing it for the first time. I think there was like a middling of applause, maybe just a little bit of clapping. Yeah. But I was like, I don't think this movie had an emotional impact on most of the people in the theater. So I don't get it. I just don't. I'm giving Wings of Desire a D.
Wow. I definitely liked it more than you did, but I'm very split. I liked a lot about this movie. I liked the cinematography a lot. I thought there was really creative shots and blocking as far as the direction goes. Mm-hmm. This is the problem with a lot of movies that try to do like multiple character, like anthology kind of thing, is that every character needs to be very interesting for the audience. I loved Peter Falk. Mm-hmm. I could have stayed with Peter Falk for the whole movie. Yep. I loved all the stuff with the old man. I thought that his story was very interesting. Yeah. I loved all the stuff in the library. I loved the idea of all of them congregating to find, like, you know, just this like this big thought bubble. Yeah. I really did not find the trapeze artist interesting. No. I didn't find her story interesting. No. I didn't find her interesting as an actress. No. I didn't find that it went anywhere. Did Nick Cave produce this movie? Because the last 30 minutes, there's so much time spent of like not even like characters in the scene. It's just Nick Cave performing. And I'm like, okay, we get it. We're at a Nick Cave concert. Right. Can we just like keep this thing going? My biggest critique though is that this movie just cannot let the camera talk. Every shot has to have monologue and really deep monologue that you have to really, every line is like, Jesus, I'm trying to piece together what's going on, and that works. But when your movie is so visually interesting, it's so distracting where it's like, can you just let the camera talk? Yeah, I don't need to hear this. I could have gathered so much of the characters and their emotions through just the movement and the way that their bodies move. Like the actors are doing so much physically because almost all the dialogue is internal. It's internal monologue. Just let what's on screen talk for itself. I'm gonna give Wings of Desire a 6 because I think that there's a lot of this that I did enjoy, and I left having a lot to think about. But overall, so disappointing. Coming from a movie that was so beloved by so many people.
You know, I jokingly, kind of make fun of Jackson, and I call him, it's Jackson's pretentious art house corner. And most of the films he sees are not pretentious; they're beautiful art films.
This movie was pretentious.
It's a funny word, but this was, to me at least, the epitome of a pretentious art house film that, for whatever reason, did not have any emotional impact on me. Thank God you didn't love it. I thought I was going to slay something that you thought was beloved.
I knew that we'd be more agreeing on that coming out of the theater. But,
so there you have it. That's caught up on all the films. We have our Oscar reactions coming up in a second, as well as... Go ahead.
By the way, Wings of Desire felt longer than A Brighter Summer Day did. I just want to point that out.
It felt very long, actually. Yeah. Just to let you know, next week when we come back, we have 2 new movies opening in the theaters, both of which we will try to see and have reviews for you. Argyle opens next week. That's probably the first big action film. Jackson already rubbing his head. Hey, you're on the A-list, brother. Think about your audience.
You heard it right here. Movie has not come out.
Yep.
Every trailer is hyping up, like, who is the real Agent Argyle?
Who's the real Argyle?
I bet I will put all of every penny on my bank account.
Okay.
It's the cat.
It's the cat. Okay, yeah. The big question is, who is Agent Argyle? I'm going to say that Agent Argyle is going to be a cameo of an actor that is not listed in the credits or in the trailer. That's going to be my prediction right there. There's a cameo. It's the new movie from Vince Vaughn. He brought you the Kingsman movies. This is, if you haven't seen the trailers, Henry Cavill, however he pronounces it this week, Dua Lipa, Bryce Dallas Howard, Ariana DeBose, and Sam Rockwell. I hope he's good in this, as well as Samuel L. Jackson, Bryan Cranston. This is a star-studded movie. This is probably the first big either flop or hit of the year, depending on how it goes. We'll be back with that next week, as well as a new film called Scrambled. This is the directorial debut from the writer and actress Leah McKendrick. It's about a 30-something woman who is looking to freeze some of her eggs. She wrote this, she produced it, she directed it, and she stars in it. This is her first film. That could go a lot of different ways. So we'll be back next week with that. But this week, the big talk, of course, was the Oscars. There's been a lot of buzz. I don't know how much, Jackson, you feel like we want to go back and forth on what everyone is talking about, and that is the quote-unquote snubs of Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie in the director and lead actress category. I have to be honest with you. The first thing I did when I saw that Greta Gerwig did not get a nomination for Barbie, which I loved, by the way, and I know you were not as big a fan, is I said, well, okay, let me go back at the list. Because here's the thing. There's 10 movies in the best film category. There's 5 in the director. Somebody is going to get quote-unquote snubbed from those. So I went to look back at the list, and I go, okay, who would I take out to put this woman, Greta Gerwig, in? And out of the 5 nominees, to be honest with you, I would take out the one female nominee that did make it in, and that's Justine.
I couldn't disagree more, actually.
Yeah, Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, which again I did not care for as much as you did. But I'm not saying I would do that. I'm saying if I had to, if I said if you have to take one out, I'm not taking Scorsese out. I'm not taking Nolan. So I'm like, if I was to say Greta Gerwig's going to get in, I'm going to take out the only woman who did and put her back in. What are your thoughts on Gerwig and Robbie, if any?
If I could, honestly, I do not think I would change the nominee list for director.
Right.
I think this is a really solid directorial list. I'm very happy to see Jonathan Glazer in there. If I had to change it, and this is the only tweak that I would probably make, I'd take Scorsese out and I'd put Celine Song in there. I think she had a better. I think that this was a better directorial vision than Killers was.
Yeah.
I also think that he's had his time, and I think that this is a first-time filmmaker who put out one of the best. I guess we'll see. Maybe one of the best movies of the year, according to me, or maybe you. So that's what I do. As far as nominating Margot Robbie, I don't think that I would. And I was pretty shocked to see American Ferrera secure a nomination because, in my opinion, I thought that she was not great in that.
Yeah.
Once again, would love to have seen Greta Lee in there. I think that she had one of the best performances of the year.
Yeah.
And yet again, not on the list. So.
Well, I guess I didn't see Carey Mulligan, so I can't. For everything I've heard, she deserves to be there, and I did not see Annette Bening in Nyad as well. That seems to be the one that
no one did.
Yeah, that seems to be the one that everyone's going. They nominated because she's Annette Bening. It's for her body of work. So. Obviously, Greta Lee, I would have loved to have seen in there. And I would have liked to. I do think Margot Robbie deserves to be there. I don't want to say who over. My guess is it's Annette Bening, but again, I haven't seen the film. As far as America Ferrera goes, I don't hate it, but there are certainly better supporting roles out there for females this year. Even though I think it was a lead role, I think Julianne Moore from May December deserved to be in there.
Absolutely.
And here's a wild card. I think Scarlett Johansson would have been an excellent supporting nomination for Asteroid City. I thought she was fantastic in that as well. A film that really got overlooked Oscar time. A lot of people are saying Charles Melton got snubbed.
Absolutely snubbed. In fact, I'm completely shocked to see Sterling Kane Brown on here, who again isn't bad in American Fiction. Top 5 of the year, big stretch for me. I would have loved to have seen Charles Melton. I would have loved to seen the kid from Anatomy of a Fall. Has one of the best child performances of recent years, in my opinion. I don't know. I feel like supporting. Let me find the other. Hold on, I'm trying to find actress. Supporting actress as well. Again, I can't talk for Danielle Brooks. I haven't seen The Color Purple, but as far as Jodie Foster and Nyad, really,
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Again, I haven't seen it, but I really, in my heart of hearts, do not think that American Ferrera should have been nominated for Barbie. Yeah. I do not think that is an Oscar-worthy performance.
What do you think about Leo and Killers of the Flower Moon? Do you see anyone in there? I mean, I didn't see Maestro, so I can't say anything about Bradley Cooper. I did not see Rustin, so I mean, but everyone seems to love Coleman Domingo in that, even though nobody seems to have seen the film. Do you feel DiCaprio got snubbed here for Killers? I don't have.
I think that DiCaprio had a better performance than Cooper did.
Oh, okay.
I might even say that I think that he might have had a better performance than Jeffrey Wright, in my opinion.
How dare you?
I know you love Jeffrey Wright. I think Jeffrey Wright is awesome. I think I liked him better in Asteroid City.
Well, there you have it. We'll see. We're going to talk more about the Oscars as they get closer. We'll have our predictions of the Oscars, where I annihilate Jackson every year. Before we move on from that, are there any technical ones, Jackson? You're more the technical guy.
Yes.
Is there is there a cinematography or a sound editing or something that you're like, this is blasphemy? How could they not?
I am very upset, very, very upset that Zone of Interest did not get a Best Original Score nomination. I think that it has one of the best. I think that the Oscars is really terrified of nominating anything that does anything minimal. I think Zone of Interest is the epitome of purposeful, minimal score, but when it works, it is effective as all hell.
Now, it did get a sound nomination, though, right?
It did, which thank God it did.
Yeah.
I also really would have loved to see Zone of Interest and Best Cinematography, but I'm going to be honest, this is a pretty stacked list.
Yeah.
I haven't seen El Conde, but I've seen snippets and screenshots, and it's a pretty gorgeous looking movie. I mean, it was on the cover of my copy of American Cinematographer magazine.
Right.
Prieto for Killers of the Flower Moon, absolutely. Lee Batik for Maestro, absolutely. Poor Things, Robbie Ryan, absolutely killed it, and of course, Hoyt van Hoytema for Oppenheimer. So it's pretty good list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, overall, it's the Oscars. There's always going to be one. I'm not furious about anything. There's some people, I mean, obviously, I think the whole Barbie thing has gotten out of control. And I'm saying that as somebody who loved Barbie. And I'm not freaking out because it's not, look, we can't all be winners. We can't all get a participation trophy. So, you know, I think we all know my love for other films that did not get nominated. And we're going to get to those right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you our 10 not best movies of the year. Now, before Jackson and I break down these top 10, we already know that there's a lot of movies that Jackson didn't see on purpose and made me suffer through.
Whoa!
With the excuse, I'm so busy, I can't go see this.
I will say, there are some movies that I think made my made my worst list that you did not see.
Oh,
so,
okay. Well, there you have it.
And by that I mean maybe I think 2. So you're not,
maybe 2.
Not too bad, right? Yeah.
But with that said, my apologies and Jackson's apologies. We would like to officially apologize to the makers of the following films that we did not see: 80 for Brady, Magic Mike's Last Dance, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Operation Fortune, Murder Mystery 2, Mafia Mama. Remember that one? Boy, that looked great, didn't it? Book Club, The Next Chapter, About My Father, Transformers, Rise of the Beast, Disney's Haunted Mansion, Gran Turismo, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, Retribution, Expendables 4, Freelance, and The Marvels, just to name a few. So our apologies. I'm sure we will see those probably never. But
yeah, tough.
Our top 10 not best films of the year. Jackson Burns, what is number 10 on your list? And we're not going to spend a ton of time on these. We'll get to the best, but any passing thoughts you might have as to why it made the list.
I want to again apologize for not seeing as many maybe not great movies this year. I think that this movie deserves to be at on a top 10 worst of the year list.
Not worst,
no.
not best list.
Sorry, my not best list. No. However, this is just the way the cards have played out. Bradley Cooper, love you, buddy. Wow. I apologize. Number 10 on my list is going to be Maestro.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I really wish that your movie had more to say than I feel like it did.
So, understand that these lists. This is the top 10 not best movies that we saw. Yes. So it's not of the year because we can't see everything. That's a shocker right off the goal. And speaking of goals, number 10 on my list, Next Goal Wins. Taika Waititi's abysmal soccer movie. What a waste of Michael Fassbender. What a waste of a great director, and what a waste of my time.
I saw a clip of that today, and oh boy, I didn't see that movie, but geez, one clip was enough for me.
It's a train wreck. Number 9, Jackson, on your list, not best of the year.
Number 9 for me. Again, this is disappointing. This is it feels like the studio is going in the wrong direction all the time, but this series in particular has been pretty good at entertaining me, and I think that they didn't hit the landing with this one. It's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the one superhero movie that people actually like this year.
It felt very copy and paste of the last two for me in a way that just wasn't original. It tried to get me to pull at the heartstrings of characters and I felt it just didn't. It didn't work for me.
It was the raccoon movie. That was the raccoon. When I think about it, it's the raccoon movie. Jackson, number 9 on my list.
You know what? I'm realizing that I'm being really mean to Bradley Cooper because he totally does play the raccoon, doesn't he?
Did he have any other movies?
I apologize, Bradley. I'm sorry. Wow, I love you. I love you, pal. I loved you in Silver Linings.
Not a good year for BC. Number 9 on my list. Jackson is constantly asking me, "Is this guy even a good actor?" And I may be done defending him. There was a time when Jason Statham did work that was worthy of our time. It has been a long time since then. The Meg 2 did what I did not think was possible. Was worse than the first. Meg 2, The Trench is my number 9. Number 8, Jackson.
It's shocking that there's movies that are. It's shocking to me that's not your number 1. Personally, I didn't see it, but it's pretty shocking that you were able to find something that was worse. Sorry, not as good as
not
that.
as good. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. Number 8, Mr. Burns.
Yeah, my number 8. This I actually saw pretty recently. It's a release that came towards the end of the year. Listen, you know me, guys. I love defending animation. I could not defend this one. Coming in from Illumination, Migration. Yeah, not, in my opinion, pretty unappealing animation style mixed with a pretty lackluster story. Really miscast voice acting.
Can we
didn't hit the landing?
Can we safely say, Jackson, that one at least is a cartoon?
Yeah, we can call that one a cartoon. It's fine.
Number 8. The only reason I did not walk out on this movie is because I was watching it at home, and don't ask me why I didn't turn it off. It was a dismal year for superhero movies. I hated the first one. I don't even know why I attempted the second. Probably sheer boredom, and that's what I was. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. What was Helen Mirren doing in this? Not good. Number 7, Jackson.
Number 7. You know how I always ask if Jason Statham's a good actor?
Yes.
I feel like I need to start asking if this director was ever a good director. M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh.
What's happening with him?
Really? Of the not best films of the year? That's making it, huh?
It's just it for me, this movie felt like college student getting stoned, being like, oh, guy stuck in a cabin.
But I loved Batista in it. I did love Batista in it.
I love Batista in it too, but is the performance enough to save it from the top 10?
Apparently not.
No.
Number 7.
Knock at the Cabin. Number 7.
A Knock at the Cabin. Number 7.
Again, you have to keep in mind I saw way less movies than you did.
Yeah,
I will say that after this, I no longer feel bad for movies that I'm gonna say. Okay. After this movie, we've now entered the real
Now you've purged yourself.
This is pretty solid bottom 6 for me. Yeah.
Number 7 for movie. It shares a unique feature that stands alone. It is a movie I saw this year and I did not review on this show. And the reason why is because it was so bad, I just felt the need not to talk about it at the time. And this is coming from a man who spent 3 years on a TV show with a talking dog. But the Will Ferrell, Kevin Hart movie, Strays.
I had no idea that you saw this.
Yes, I did. I watched it on cable, and I just didn't feel the need to ever talk about it again. And I'm not going to talk about it now. Better. Number 7, Strays. Jackson.
Wow. All right.
Number 6.
I can't say I'm surprised with that one. Number 6. There was a time when an Indiana Jones movie would have made it on my top 10 best list. But boy, how the mighty have fallen. A complete mess of a CGI fest.
It was bad.
I mean, it's I can't even think of anything to say.
Is it worse than the last one though? Is it worse than Shia LaBeouf and the swinging through the jungle and the UFO?
It's been so long since I've seen Crystal Skull that I honestly can't say.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably.
But
yeah.
I think for the movies that I saw this year, I think this was the one where I was looking at it and I went, man, I used to really love these movies. What happened?
It would most definitely be at the very top, if not the top of my list, if I was doing a most disappointing movies of the year. I don't think it would have made your list had you seen more, but I understand why it's there.
Agreed.
All right. Number 6 on my list, and I just got a feeling we're going to hear about this one again. I don't have a problem with doing a movie based on a video game. Maybe just do a video game that's not as stupid as this. I can't believe how much money it made. I cannot believe they are doing a sequel. Strike that. I believe all of it. This is America. Yeah. Number 6, Five Nights at Freddy's for me was a train wreck. Jackson, number 5 on your list.
Yeah. Number 5, interesting enough, this is a movie that we have talked about in this episode already, although not in the top 10 list.
Oh, really?
Dizzying cinematography, pretty abhorrent writing in my opinion, very, very preachy commentary that comes off as descending. I could not find much to like about Leave the World Behind, which is upsetting. Because I really do enjoy Mr. Robot. I'm pretty deep into season 1. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I do not know how this came from the same mind that made Mr. Robot.
Wow.
Pick a lane in every category. Every camera movement was so over the top and from taken from different places, and the story, and we talked about it.
Yeah. I did like Mahershala Ali in it, but that's pretty much where the line ends for me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5 for me is a movie that if you blinked, you missed it. There was a lot of push for the movie Air to get nominated this year from Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, but a lot of people forget. No, it's not on my list. A lot of people forget there was an earlier Ben Affleck movie this year called Hypnotic, where people are being hypnotized. Oh, I know. Go back. I talked about it.
Never even heard of this.
Where Ben Affleck is a detective who may or may not be a hypnotist specialist who can get into the minds of others and manipulate them into doing horrific things. This came and went, and it was bad enough to make number 5 on my list. Hypnotic with Mr. Affleck. Number 5, Jackson.
This is my number 4.
Oh yeah, 4 for you.
Listen, I knew what this movie was going to be the second that it was announced, being someone who played the video games. But what I didn't... There's something so upsetting about seeing Matthew Lillard in a animatronic costume that just really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be number 4.
Jackson, why did this movie do so well? What
Big
resonated?
fan base.
Really? Is that what it was?
It's the fan base. People who would never have seen movies before going to see this movie probably was the biggest draw. I think too, like this could have had, having played the video games, this could have had a lot of potential to be like a really good like analog like Blair Witch kind of movie, but because it had to feed into the fan base and everything had to tie back into the games, it became a whole mess of a movie. Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's number 4.
All right. Number 4 on my list is a film that stars an actor who I love very much, Woody Harrelson. However, who decided to make him the coach of a special needs team of basketball players?
They did 2 of those this year.
What was the other one? It was another one?
What are you just talking about? The soccer team?
Oh,
like
yeah.
The white guy who comes in to coach the soccer with...
Yeah. Well, here he's rescuing special needs basketball players. This was not funny. It was pandering, I don't quite get it. I think they finally wanted to do a movie that starred special needs people that was actually played by special needs, and I think that's an incredibly admirable thing to do. But if a script sucks, a script sucks. It doesn't matter who's playing what. Champions is number 4 on my list.
Oof. Yeah. Can't say I didn't see that one coming. Number 3, Dad. This is a movie that I know that you didn't see. I was forced to watch this with my girlfriend because she was a fan of the novel that it was based off of. It's really interesting.
I love that you just have to talk about it again.
It's really interesting to do a movie based off a gay romance and have maybe the straightest actor playing the lead. Horrific chemistry, unbelievable writing. This movie somehow, Dad, finds a way to reference In the Mood for Love, which only made me...
Oh, I didn't know it did that.
Like, double back and want to leave the room. I have nothing good to say about this movie. It's going to be Red, White, and Royal Blue at number 3. Pretty rough movie.
And if you've never heard of that, that's because only 14-year-old girls on
straight to Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good choice right there. You should watch it again, though. You should really give it a second chance.
You think?
I think so.
I might gather. There's a lot of subtext I didn't gather on the first watch.
There's a lot of talk in 2023 about what may or may not be the end of superhero movies. I'm all for it right now. Is there going to be another one on my list? I don't know, but there's definitely one at number 3. This was a really weak attempt to launch a superhero that might as well have been Spider-Man, just a different bug.
Yeah.
Blue Beetle is abysmal. And it makes me so sad that Susan Sarandon was in this, but I hope the check was big. Jackson, what is number 2 on your list of the not best films of 2023?
People who've been watching this podcast before and tuned in last year know that I have a little section at the end of my worst list where it's like, these aren't movies that I just find bad. I found them personally to have some moral issues with them, in my opinion. Movies that didn't sit right with me for more than just bad filmmaking purposes. That's where number 2 comes in. This is going to be our first disagreement of the day.
Oh, no. I know it's coming.
Somebody, for the love of God, talk some sense into Emerald Fennel, because number 2 is going to be Saltburn. I
thought it was going to be number 1. I thought it was going to be number 1. So
no. But I got into such a heated argument with my roommate about this movie. I could probably write a 12-page essay about the things that I find wrong with this movie.
Wow.
Shot beautifully. Unfortunately, couldn't save it. Too much distracting.
Listen, you're not alone. There are people who loathe Saltburn, as many as there are
and I'm in that
people
camp.
who love it. Wow. That's a fascinating one.
Number 2, Saltburn.
Number 2 on my list is another movie that came out seeking awards here at the end of the year. And for as far as I know, maybe it got a song or something, was shut out. I would love to say that my hatred for this film is only because of what it's done with one of my best memories as a child, but I really have separated the original with Gene Wilder and put it aside.
Oh, boy.
And there is just nothing charming, fun, comedic, or entertaining about the movie Wonka. And I defy anyone to tell me why that was a good movie. is just a complete... It just gets the tone, I think, of the book and the original completely wrong. Timothée Chalamet is a wonderful actor. He is miscast, and if you miscast Wonka in a movie called Wonka, you're not coming. You're not coming back. Number 2 on my list is Wonka.
All right, I have an inkling we might have the same number 1.
Really?
Because I haven't heard your pick yet, and the fact if it wasn't on your top 10, I'm gonna be a little bit like, really?
Well, it could be number 11. I can tell you right now that our number 1 choice is not the same.
Wow. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna. All right.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen.
I think you said it best talking about superhero movies and what you'd like to be done with them. Mm-hmm. There's just been a complete nosedive in quality lately, and I think that this is the biggest contender. First of all, to put a movie out that's all part of some big cinematic universe right after announcing that you're going to destroy the cinematic universe makes no sense. There is something innately evil about using AI to what's what I'm looking for, to revive actors who cannot write off and approve of their faces being used in your films. The Flash, maybe one of the worst movies I've seen. And I don't mind using the W word to say this. Just a tough watch. I could go on and on about the ethics of this movie, but even with that aside, this movie just blows. The CGI is bad. The acting is bad. The story is bad.
The Flash is not a great film. But I don't. I think it would probably make it into my top 20, but not my top 10.
I will never forget when I was younger, sitting down with you and watching the original Christopher Reeves Superman movies, right. and just being, God, what? Now that's someone that I want to root for. That's a hero that I want to root for.
Yeah.
Nothing hurts more than seeing his face plastered onto some goddamn 3D model in the middle of a cyclone with no dialogue. And it's just, let him rest, guys. It's enough.
I think you're taking a moral stand more than anything with The Flash.
I am. Because, I'm going to say something that I'm going to regret. But The Flash, number 1, not best movie of the year.
Well, The Flash is not my number 1, not best movie of the year. However, it is a superhero film. Now,
I think I know where this is going.
A lot of people would go, you know what? When you've closed a chapter on a story, to reboot them with something like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, would be a horrible choice. And that movie was not good. But you know what was worse? Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And again, nothing worse than relaunching a new chapter than a chapter that's already closed and you could care less about. And you're like, just throw it out there because we finished it, and why not try to make a few bucks? It is a train wreck. I told you, I said in my review just last week or the week before, I only saw the first half. So my choice for the worst half of a movie for 2023 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I could not get it. I tried, people. I could not get out of the theater fast enough.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I can't say that I would disagree with you.
But you know what? Listen, for all the people who made those films that made our not best of the year, listen, I'm sure you didn't go in with the hopes of making something that would make a list like this. I'm sure all good intentions were there, except maybe for the exception of Saltburn, according to Jackson. But with that said... so Jackson, listen, I'm really looking forward to you seeing a lot more movies in 2023 and suffering with me.
Yeah, so I'm not just not just you every week going, Jesus, did you see Mean Girls the Musical reboot too?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Parental Guidance Neglected podcast. Thank you so much for hanging in there, especially when you're like, all I want to hear is their top 10 best films of 2023. We are coming to that right now. But before we do, please, a reminder to follow my son on all social media, Jackson N. Burns at the TikTok and Instagram. I am at Regan.Burns. And please make sure to follow us on Instagram at PGN Podcast and to like and give us good reviews on YouTube and Spotify and wherever you're listening or watching. Before we start to break down our honorable mentions and our top 10, my apologies to the following movies that are not on the list, not because they don't merit being there. I just ran out of time. Godland, I've heard great things about. People love Dungeons and Dragons. Honor Among Thieves, as he's made some lists. I did not see Beau is Afraid, but we might be hearing it from Jackson. Who knows? Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Blackberry, Jackson saw. Will it make his top 10 list? They cloned Tyrone, I've heard good things about. A wonderful documentary that apparently is just mind-blowing is Beyond Utopia. I've not been able to see that yet. Jackson saw Priscilla. Will it make his? I did not catch it. We've neither seen Rustin. Neither one of us have seen Perfect Days, and I know Jackson is dying to see that.
It's not out yet.
It's just not been released
Guys,
here.
Help me.
Speaking of other foreign films, Fallen Leaves has gotten some heat. I've not seen that. Jackson did see Boy and the Heron and Maestro. We'll see, and All of Us Strangers. I did not, so those may or may not be making an appearance on Jackson. And I don't think either one of us saw Society of the Snow or The Color Purple. So, again, our apologies to those. We only have so many hours in the day. Jackson, do you have any honorable mentions that you want to get out there that just missed your list?
I do. There's two that I was really... My number 10 spot could have gone to any three movies, but these are the two that didn't get to make it.
Okay.
May, December, just snuck by. Really close. I think a really solid film. Great.
It's on my list too. It's on my honorable mention as well. Yeah.
And also, I would like to give an honorable mention to The Boy and the Heron. Didn't make the cut. Didn't quite make the cut. Although I did love that movie. I thought it was beautiful visually. It just snuck by.
Yeah, it's tough when you're dealing with that. 10 spot's always tough because there's always an 11 where you go, maybe.
If only there was a little more.
Yeah. My honorable mention list, in no particular order. This is not a 20 through 11. 1001, that was an earlier film this year from writer-director A.V. Rockwell about a single African-American woman raising a boy in the city. I actually like Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I think that was a really well-done war film. Evil Dead Rise was a really...
That also barely made... Yeah, I should have mentioned that too.
It's a really good horror movie that I think deserves mentioning at the end of the year. Bottoms, I thought, was a very inventive comedy again from Emin Segelman. In retrospect, I think I was a little harsh on this movie, but it snuck into my honorable mentions. I like David Fincher's The Killer more than I think I gave it credit for at the time. It has one of the best fight sequences I've seen in a decade.
Yeah, it does.
May, December made my list as well as honorable mentions. Saltburn is on my honorable mention. It is not in my top 10.
I'm so glad. I was really worried about that.
It is not.
I was really worried about that. I'm not going to lie.
And now here's three films that may shock you, will not be making an appearance in my top 10. I give honorable mention.
And these ones barely missed the cut, or are these a little farther down on the honorable mentions list?
I'm in no particular order. I didn't even think about these are just 10 films. I didn't try to think what's 11, what's 20. No particular order. The Holdovers.
Yeah.
The Iron Claw.
And
Killers of the Flower Moon. Honorable mention going out to those. Those are in no particular order. Those are some of the movies that were in consideration in my top 10 and just missed the cut.
I'm going to give one more honorable mention. This isn't one that just missed the cut. I wasn't huge on this movie, but I want to give it its accolades because I think that it is an example of someone doing something truly original and taking a big risk. I do want to give props to Beau is Afraid.
Okay.
Slipped past a lot of people's radars. I had a buddy run into Ari Aster in New York and said that he seemed pretty down on himself.
Maybe this will cheer him up, Jackson, that you're giving me a shout out.
Ari, I'm rooting for you, man. I'm rooting for you.
Has he announced what he's doing next yet?
He has. Actually, let me find this right now.
While Jackson's looking that up, a reminder coming up next. Our top 10 best films of 2023. Eddington. Is that based on the...
Eddington is now in production as a Western noir ensemble movie set during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Wow, that's weird. Oh.
Yeah.
Eddington was because he's like a dark version of Paddington. That'd be great, just like a killer bear.
Could be funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Regan Burns. This is Jackson Burns. Welcome to the PGN Podcast, Top 10 Best Films of 2023. Jackson, what is number 10 on your list?
This is one that just escaped your list, and again, filling this number 10 spot was difficult. It could have been any of the ones that I mentioned, but I think that what pushed this one into the top 10 is going to be the ending. I've been thinking about it very much recently. I think that it's a moment of genius that I feel like I haven't seen from Marty in a bit. And that's going to be Killers of the Flower Moon at number 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. And as people are shocked that maybe it didn't make my top 10 list, I think people are probably equally shocked it just barely made yours. I would say The Killers of the Flower Moon is the movie this year that I wanted to love the most and was the most upset that I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. But still an amazing film, and Scorsese's a master.
Agreed
number
completely.
10 on my list. Okay, overall, I just want to say this was a pretty good year for comedies for me. Comedies are tough.
Yeah.
I like to try to include things of different genres. I think so many times that you look at the Academy Awards and it's these heavy biopics and downers and things like, Till and but I like movies that can conquer comedy. This one's going to come as a shock, and most people are going to go, "You're out of your mind." There was a small movie out this summer. It starred Ben Platt, who people know from Dear Evan Hansen. It also stars Jimmy Tatro. It's from director Molly Gordon and Nick Lieberman. It is a little film. Hardly anyone saw it during the Oppenheimer Barbie explosion, and it was called Theater Camp. I have not laughed harder this year at a film. Maybe it's the actor in me. You have to understand what goes into bad actors who would end up teaching at a theater camp. And I like to appreciate the comedies. And when I sat down with the list, I said, I have to be honest, that movie makes me smile. And sometimes that's all it takes to make my list. Number 10 for me is Theater Camp, Jackson.
All right, number 9 for me is going to be, unfortunately, I hate to say it, it's going to be the only animated movie on my list. But I do think that there was something very special about this film. In a sea of bad, schlocky superhero movies, it's glad to see that someone seems to care about making something that's a little bit truer to the heart, a little bit entertaining, and just a fun watch overall. My number 9 is going to go to Spider-Man into Across the Spider-Verse.
Really?
Very excited to see what's next from them. I very much enjoyed that movie. Yeah, I don't know. When I look back and I remember seeing that in theaters, I remember just the whole time just having a big old grin on my face. And
I saw it with you.
A lot of fun.
I enjoyed it. For me, it was just a little bit too much been there, done that. Just a bit. But
which is absolutely a valid critique. I think for me, I was just so excited to see something of substance coming from anything relating to Marvel. I'm going to do that.
In early March, Christopher Nolan is going to take the stage as Best Director, and I guarantee you that my number 9 pick for the year will be the best film awarded the Academy Award. I'm not going to go on about it. I certainly love the film, maybe not as much as the rest of the world apparently, but Oppenheimer is number 9 on my list. Visually stunning, masterfully acted, maybe a bit long, maybe a few scenes could have gone, but still a masterclass in filmmaking. Oppenheimer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Number 8, Mr. Burns.
Getting into the number 8. This is a movie that I'm going to say I'm proud to have on my top 10. Okay. Because, a lot of times you see these top 10s and they're filled with these big, blockbuster hits. Mm-hmm. And this is a bit of an artsier movie. It's one that I know that you also enjoyed a lot. It's coming from a newer filmmaker, Christoph Borgli. One of the best performances of the year by Nicolas Cage here, and honestly, gorgeously shot. Thank you guys for shooting on film. I appreciate you a lot. It's going to be Dream Scenario. Yeah. I mean, give me a movie that I can laugh at and that sticks with me and that I had a good time watching. Yeah.
Number 8 on my list is from director Christopher Borgli. It has a fantastic performance by Nicolas Cage.
No way.
And I told you that comedies this year did really well for me, and I was very pleasantly surprised. This is also a movie that kind of stuck with me, where I was like, I found myself thinking about it days and even weeks after seeing the film. Number 8 for me is also Jackson, dream
Yeah,
scenario. Oh my God! What if if the next 7 are exactly this? What are the odds? Do you think the odds are
none? Because I'm about to. I know this one didn't
it's about to go way off the rails for you.
These next 2 might have some small disagreements.
Here comes the Marvels with Jackson. Number 7. Mr.
Number
Burns.
7. I get their critiques. I hear you. Okay. Ending was a bit corny. Was a little much. A little melodramatic. Something about brotherly love that just hit me where I live. I sobbed like a baby in this theater by myself, by the way, because I couldn't find anybody to go with me. Really upset that this didn't get nominated more.
Didn't get any.
I'll say it.
I don't think it got anything.
I would have loved to have seen Zac Efron for a nomination. I would have loved to see this be nominated for cinematography. I think it was shot beautifully, and my number 7 is going to go to the Iron Claw.
Yeah, I hope Zac Efron gets a little more respect coming out of this, because he definitely earned my respect. I mean, I always thought he was fine.
I don't know. Did you see the trailer for the new movie he's in?
Oh no, is it Baywatch 2? I mean, what is it? Is it bad?
It's like a. It's like a Grown Ups 2 type comedy with, yeah.
But I liked him in the Fraternity one, the one with Seth Rogen. I thought he was great in
Spring
that.
Breakers?
Or
no, was that The Neighbors?
No. The Neighbor one. They did 2 of them. I thought they were actually pretty funny. All right, the Iron Claw. I cannot argue with that. That's one of my honorable mentions.
He's in a new movie called Ricky Stenicki with John Cena, Andrew Santino.
Oh boy,
those are the only big names attached to it.
Now,
so that's...
in his defense, he might have filmed that 5 years ago, and it's just been sitting.
Yeah,
Who knows? Yeah.
In the vault.
Number 7 on my list is a film that I really, really liked. And I'm not going to get into the controversy of the movie or what it was trying to say or what it wasn't trying to say. I'm telling you, I enjoyed it. It made me laugh. It moved me. And I thought it was effective. And I think that Greta Gerwig is still, even during all this, one of the most underrated directors working out there. And I'm not saying she should have got an Oscar nomination or not, but she has continuously done great work, whether it be Lady Bird or her work early with Ben Stiller and Noah Baumbach. I just think she's fantastic. Number 7 on my list is Barbie.
Can't say I agree with you.
I know.
I can't. But you know what? I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Okay.
I'm not mad at it.
Okay.
And hopefully you won't be mad at me with this next pick.
Are you mad that Barbie ranks higher than Oppenheimer for me on my list?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like I'm so desensitized to it at this point, where it's just like I truly do think that Oppenheimer's a better movie, but I'm not gonna fault you for it. I'm not gonna die on that hill.
All right, number 6, Mr. Burns.
But I will die on the hill that this next movie is pretty damn good. One of the best argument scenes that I've seen coming from a filmmaker. I think that this is very deserved as far as the director nomination. I think that's very deserved as far as the acting nominations it got. And you know what? Do I think it's going to win any of them? No. But would I be mad at it? Probably not. Number 6 is going to be Anatomy of a Fall.
I just wish
you would liked it more.
I wish that movie had resonated with me. It didn't even make my honorable mention list. And I wanted to put it on there, and then I was like, no, you're putting it on there because you think it should be on there. But for me, it just didn't resonate. Enough. I don't know why. I felt it really dragged. I thought the courtroom stuff was so long. I really wish I had.
Justine, you have my heart. You have a fan here, so.
Number 6 is a movie that I guarantee will not appear on my son's list, and he probably knew it was going to be on my list. This movie resonated for me. I saw it late in the year. Director Cord Jefferson, I think, did a fantastic job leading us down this tale of a writer searching for himself, his art, and his family. I loved American Fiction. It's number 6 on my list. And I know you don't have the same feelings.
No, I don't.
Okay, here's the thing.
I disagree. Okay,
here's the thing. I can appreciate when you picked Anatomy of a Fall and go, it didn't work for me, but I acknowledge that's a great film. It's done really, really well. Can you say the same thing for American Fiction?
I can. Because I think that it is a very original piece. I think it makes a lot of bold choices. I love Jeffrey Wright. So I'm not mad at it. Okay. I just don't agree. Don't agree.
Okay.
You know?
I get it.
Yeah.
Number 5, Mr. Burns.
Number 5. Very curious to see if this might make an appearance on your list. This is a movie that you've seen more recently that you surprisingly liked. that I was trying to get you to see all year, and I'm glad that you saw it. Wes Anderson coming out of left field with something so interpersonal and so introspective, very different from his usual, kind of keeps an arm's distance away from his material, and I'm so glad he's doing it. I want to see more of this from him. I loved this movie, and it's going to make here on my number 5, Asteroid City.
Okay. No, I did like Asteroid City. You know I have a problem with Wes Anderson, though. Or at least I have...
Yeah, but you liked Asteroid City.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. That was number 5, correct? All right, my number 5 movie. All right, well, here's where I throw a wrench in everything. Are you ready?
Oh, Jesus.
Remember earlier where I said I took a movie like Theater Camp, which I go, this is not the type of movie that gets recognized or gets awards. This is a movie that I think needs to be awarded for many different things, and I think it might have gotten 1 or 2 nominations this year in technical things. It is so incredibly difficult to do a sequel to a film and make it better than the original. And when you've done 4 of them, and the 4th one is the best, when you have finally put together a world and created characters and added new characters even in this 4th installment that I think enhance the story, and you shoot a film that is absolutely glorious to look at with some of the most incredible action scenes I have ever seen, my number 5 pick for best films of 2023 is John Wick Chapter 4. I
thought you were going to say the Hunger Games movie, and I was like, where is he going with this? I was like, what? Oh, okay. Okay.
I think it's kind of like they have got that thing not only dialed in so that you're just watching the same movie over, they constantly top themselves. I absolutely love the addition of Donnie Yen in this. He is so good. The great Lance Reddick is fantastic. Ian McShane just chewing up the scenery, and Bill Skarsgård continues to prove that he is one of the best villains out there.
Absolutely.
John Wick Chapter 4, I think, is a just really underappreciated film.
Okay.
Number 5.
I didn't see it. I didn't see the 3rd one either, though. So I didn't see the 4th one, not because I didn't want to, but I was kind of like, well, I got to watch the 3rd one.
No, you don't. Let me tell you something. As a cinematography guy, you need to see Chapter 4.
Okay. I've heard nothing but good things. So maybe, listen, it's in your top 5. Maybe I'll have to give it a watch soon.
Yep. Number 4, Mr. Burns.
Number 4, I think that some people might have expected this to be higher on my list. This is still very high on the list, granted, but I think that some people might have thought this might have made it a little bit higher up. This is a filmmaker that I've adored for many years. I'm so glad to see him getting the recognition that he deserves. Yorgos Lanthimos, please, for the love of God, never stop being yourself and making bold, incredible, creative choices in your films. Emma Stone coming in hot with one of the best performances of the year. Cinematography that just makes your jaw drop. Mark Ruffalo, one of the funniest performances I've seen in so long. Yeah. I was laughing my ass off. It made me emotional. I loved the music. I loved Willem Dafoe. I loved the ambiance. I loved the sound. Poor Things, number 4. Yeah. Hard to complain.
Yeah, when people ask me who the funniest performance of the year is, I will say it was a tie. It was between Nicolas Cage in Dream Scenario and Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things.
I can't agree more. I can't agree more.
Great pick. Number 4 is a movie that has gained steam at the end of the year. It is a movie I saw with my son, and it's a movie that I can say that the star of the film, by far, is the sound. Haunting, arresting. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I get that. I don't fault anyone if it didn't resonate, but it struck me very hard. It is a masterclass on minimalism, but I say that not as a bad thing. I'm saying that is that sometimes so much more can be said with so little. Number 4 on my list is The Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
It's a good film.
Good.
Jonathan Glazer, I believe, also was nominated for director.
He was.
So, again, am I going to take him off the list for Greta Gerwig? I'm not.
I'm not. I can't say that I would.
Yeah. We're down to our top 3, Jackson. Number 3.
Number 3, listen, you know it was going to show up at some point. We've sat here in this room all day with it staring at us right in the face. Celine Song, Greta Lee, you guys, I feel for you. I was gunning for you at the Oscars. I'm so sorry that you didn't make the list.
Yeah.
Listen, this movie touches on something so intimate, so beautiful. Again, speaking of minimalism, this movie is also very quiet, but it's the quiet moments that matter so much. Shot so well, a phenomenal ending, performances from the three big hitters. I'm forgetting the other two names. The names of the other two guys.
Is it Teo Yo and John Magaro?
Yeah, just phenomenal all around. I'm actually planning on seeing this again because AMC is doing a bit of a re-release for all the Best Picture nominees, so I will be seated probably to see this again because I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters the first time. It's going to go to number 3, Past Lives.
Past Lives. Thank God it got nominated for Best Picture because and I'm not sad that I'm not like, oh, Celine Song and Greta Lee didn't get nominated. It's just sometimes with the nomination, if they don't get any nominations, the movie falls through the cracks.
Yeah,
I think at least with the Best Film nomination, hopefully more people will see it. Number 3 on my list, I have had a real big problem with Wes Anderson.
There it is. Yeah.
But I was pleasantly shocked to find that I not only enjoyed Asteroid City, I loved Asteroid City.
Yeah.
It does everything that has pissed me off in the last 5 films this guy has made, but this time it works. With a cast that doesn't have one missed hit in it. I mean, everyone from Liev Schreiber all the way to Jeffrey Wright and Tom Hanks are spot on in tone. They have very fleshed out characters. I didn't feel anyone was a caricature. I, again, to this day, still don't know if I completely get everything Wes Anderson was trying to say, but I was fascinated by trying to decipher this movie. I loved my number 3 pick, Asteroid City. There you have it. I guess I'm back, Wes. You won me.
Listen, we're all in. We're all in on the Anderson train.
Fuck it up with the French Dispatch 2 or something. And you know what? And listen,
interesting that he's nominated for a short film and not for this.
I know
at the Oscars.
I know, that's crazy. Have you seen that? There's
no. I'm gonna try to see all the short films before I do though. I've been meeting them, and they're all on Netflix. He did a bunch of them, but I think that only one of them got nominated this year.
Gotcha. Yeah. Jackson, number 2 on your list.
Yeah. A bit of a shocker. These last 2, I think everyone watching might know where this is headed.
Yeah.
Number 2, I've seen this movie a few times now, and it never ceases to amaze me, the scope of this film. It's so massive, it's so large, and yet it almost entirely exists in a few rooms. The dialogue of Oppenheimer, the visual effects, the cinematography, I think came together to make something truly powerful. I will never forget sitting in that theater at the end of it and just watching the credits go by and just wondering when it all went wrong for humanity. Number 2 is going to go to Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Oppenheimer. Yep. No, I can't argue with it. Look, it made my top 10. It's number 9. It just didn't have quite as much of the emotional punch, I would say, as the 8 films that ranked a little bit higher for me. But still, when it wins the Oscar in March, I will have absolutely no problem with that.
Yeah.
Very much like Wes Anderson, except, here's the thing. The difference is Wes Anderson I loved early on when he came out of the gate with Bottle Rocket and Rushmore and even the Royal Tenenbaums to a degree. And then he lost me. And then I just have not enjoyed his work for a long time. Here's another director who I just did not enjoy his work greatly from what I'd seen beforehand. Now, with that said, I think... was it The Favorite he did?
The Favorite was,
It was a good film, but it's still, I wasn't, running home to tell people you've got to see Yorgos' new film. But there is no doubt that he's now won me over. And there's little nuances of Poor Things that I think, like the fishbowl stuff. There's little stuff that I go, it wasn't my favorite. It doesn't matter. There's obviously I don't want to. Yeah. There's one performance in the movie that I think is just less than everything else that's there, which I think is sad. But everything about this movie rises above those little nitpicks. It is funny. It is moving, and more than anything, I would say it is the most original film of the year. Number 2 on my list is Poor Things. So, and I got to see that with my son,
great pick.
And I could tell that it was a movie that really resonated with everyone. So, Jackson, before you reveal your number 1 film of the year, please recap your 10 through 2 picks, please. Here they are, Jackson's top 10.
Here they are in the order that I put them. Number 10, Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese. Mm-hmm. Number 9, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm. Number 8, Dream Scenario. Mm-hmm. Number 7, The Iron Claw. Mm-hmm. Number 6, Anatomy of a Fall.
Yes.
Number 5, Asteroid City.
Okay.
Number 4, Poor Things. Number 3, Past Lives. Mm-hmm. Number 2, Oppenheimer. And number 1, Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest.
The Zone of Interest, yeah.
I will spend my life trying to figure out how he made this movie. Probably the best. I don't understand. The direction in this movie is so impressive. Every frame is so powerful and so stunning. The performances are so cutting and nuanced and small. And yet there is so much happening in the sound, in the cutting, in the effects. This movie tries so many different things to get you to distract yourself from the background, and you always can feel it. I can't.
Yeah, it's a powerful film.
It's so powerful. Those of you who follow me on Letterboxd might have noticed that I actually have this in my top 4 now of all time.
Wow.
Kicked out Everything Ever All at Once for this movie.
Wow.
The top 4.
Wow.
I've seen it 3 times now. I will probably see it again with my girlfriend when she gets the time. I cannot get enough of this movie.
Wow. There you have it. Doesn't sound like we're going to have a worst person in the world situation where you see something a month from now and go...
Perfect Days... I'm not going to discount Perfect Days. I don't think it would. I don't think it would knock out Zone of Interest, but a part of me is wondering if maybe Killers of the Flower Moon is not long for this list after that comes out.
Yeah, well, who knows?
We'll see. I mean, I didn't love Wings of Desire, so
yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Number 10 for me was The Little Scene Theater Camp. Please hunt that one out. Number 9, Oppenheimer. You might have heard of it. 8, Dream Scenario. Number 7, yes, Barbie did make my top 10 list. Number 6 is American Fiction. Number 5, my sleeper surprise, John Wick Chapter 4. Just such a great action film. Number 4, the critical darling, The Zone of Interest, and deserves every bit of it. Number 3, Asteroid City. I'm back, Wes. Number 2 is Poor Things, and my number 1 movie of the year, without a doubt, and no surprise if you listen, is Celine Song's Past Lives. It is a absolutely beautiful, enchanting, human story. I'm a sucker for a good love story, but it is more than that. Please don't be fooled by the trailer or the poster. This is about finding yourself in the paths that we take in life and what is the right ones, what are the wrong ones, the choices that we make. And it's at the end, it's almost an expose on how people can grow apart. They can grow closer, or sometimes they just intertwine back and forth at different stages of their lives. It is a masterpiece. Nothing will take Past Lives. Nothing that I haven't seen. I guarantee you will knock that off the list. What'd you think of 2023 overall, Jackson?
I thought this was a pretty great year. Looking at the list, pretty strong. I think that I'm very secure in my top 5. I think that the other few I liked a lot, but I can see them moving around with time and maybe adding more in depending on how Perfect Days goes, and maybe who knows. I haven't seen most of the nominees for Best Foreign Film, so. Right. Society of the Snub and Meeting the Sea. I apologize for not having seen it yet.
Jackson, much like the themes of past lives, sometimes the things we love change over the years, and things fluctuate. And maybe you'll look back at 2023 and go, you know what? Now that I think about it, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania really did say something that I didn't see at the time.
Yeah.
Or I hadn't.
Maybe The Flash wasn't as bad as I was making it seem.
Maybe Winnie the Pooh: Blood and Honey deserved more of my time.
I forgot about that. Jeez.
Yeah, but consider they're doing a sequel to that too. Of course they are.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. That was our top 10 best and not so best. If you agreed, let us know. If you disagreed, tell us what you would have fixed. Did we get it all wrong? Maybe we did. Who knows? Only time will tell. Yeah. Do you want to tell them what's coming next week? I guess you probably know better than I do.
Again, we'll be back. Argyle and Scrambled are the 2 new movies. I'm sure Jackson will have seen something pretentious, or if at least not pretentious, art house. And I'm sure there's a couple new movies that'll be streaming on Netflix and Amazon. So I know a lot of people don't hit the theaters, so we'll try to see something that comes out on the subscription channels, so that you got a review of something that you might not have to go out and pay $58 for. Get on the A-list. That's how you do it. All right, that was a long one. Thanks for listening. We'll post our top 10 lists as well on our Instagrams and everything, so you guys can comment on there as well. And we'll talk more Oscars as we get closer. Start thinking about your predictions, Jackson. Remember, Jackson, it's who you think will win.
I know.
Not who
I know. It's hard sometimes when.
You can say that too. You can go, if I was picking, I would pick this person. But I think this person.
Say what you will about the Academy, whether they got it right or wrong. All I know is that Saltburn is nominated for 0 Oscars, and I think that is something that.
Okay, one quick question then. Last year, Everything All at Once, they got it right. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the year before, Parasite, you would agree they got it right, correct?
Yeah.
The year before that, I think, was Nomadland.
Green Book. We're missing Green Book.
No, Green Book was before Nomadland, I think.
Oh, no. It went Everything Everywhere All at Once, then Nomadland, and then...
and then Parasite.
Then Parasite.
Okay. So if you think about it, Green Book, wrong. Parasite, right. Nomadland, wrong. Yes. Everything... Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, boy,
right. So now this year, we're due for wrong. So... if Oppenheimer wins, is that technically wrong?
No. I'd be very happy with that.
Even if it beats your number one zone of interest, but technically that would be wrong.
The zone of interest I would love to see win. It has no chance. It unfortunately has no chance. Yeah, which sucks. But I'm not mad at it. I love both those films very much.
All right. Jackson, I think you should pick Margot Robbie to win actress. I think you'll win the pool if you do that.
Yeah, I think so too.
We'll see you guys next time. Love you, buddy.
Love you too.